Stretch Armstrong. Stretch Armstrong played an important role in my life. I'm not sure why yet, but I think it had something to do with the way that he died. Stretch was a Christmas present to me from Santa Claus in 1976. I loved Stretch. One day, I'm not quite sure how long into his short life, my brother and his friend, our neighbor, took it upon themselves to test Stretch's capacity. Stretch Armstrong was in fact a real 1970s toy. He was a heavy, oozy, massy, pulpy man shaped like a bodybuilder that you could pull and stretch, and he'd always return to his usual 6-pound self. One evening at my house in Hopewell Junction, New York, my brother Dave and his friend took my Stretch, who I was just bragging about, I'm sure, and they proceeded to have a tug of war with him until he finally stretched past his limits. I can't forget the looks on their faces as Stretch got skinnier and skinnier until he finally busted a seam between his raging pectorals and his armpit. His inner goo bled from this tear like a river as I gasped in horror. Then my goofy brother and our buck-toothed neighbor Michaels saw the gaping wound in Stretch, and it only made their laughter worse. Once they saw my reaction, they both lost it. I was standing there with hands over my mouth. "Stretch!" I called to my plastic friend, and then the two of them dropped him on the living room floor, and we all watched in horror as the liquid gore pumped from the hole in my muscle-bound friend. Once on the ground, his limbs once again started to retract to normal, much to the delight of David and Michael. This seemed to please them and make them want to laugh even harder. At this point, I was almost reduced to tears as the life seeped from my Christmas morning friend. The boys were reduced to tears too because they couldn't stop laughing, and I think they might have gotten in trouble for it, but I'm not sure. I'm sure that was one of the many nights that I had gone to bed in my life with the bitter taste of anger in my mouth. Stretch had to be thrown away because it's toxic, Mom said. Can you imagine? My friend Stretch Armstrong was now toxic. I suggested we taped him up with a bandage and keep him, but I lost that argument. Stretch Armstrong was a true friend. Rest in peace, Stretch. Born 1976, died 1977.